So let's talk a little bit about activity tracking. If you've been following the channel for a while, you might remember from my previous weight loss videos that activity tracking played a huge role in helping me lose weight. I relied very heavily on my Fitbit. So when Verizon reached out to me talking about doing a hangout on air about wearable tech, and they asked me to review the Garmin Vivofit as a part of that, of course you had to know I was curious. In case you missed the unboxing, or if you're just not familiar with the device, the Vivofit is a fitness wristband with a transflected display, a 1-year battery life, and it tracks your steps, your calories burned, your distance traveled, all those sorts of things a pedometer does, and it can also do sleep tracking. It syncs up to the Garmin Connect app on your Android or iOS device, or you can do it through your desktop, and if you've got a compatible heart rate monitor, it can pair up with that as well. Unfortunately, I don't. In terms of everyday use of this device, I started out wearing it on my right wrist, since I do tend to keep my watch on my left wrist. And in my case, that was extremely inaccurate on the right wrist, for one main reason. When I'm working at home, I usually walk on the treadmill desk behind me here, and I walk about 10,000 steps a day during my workday on that treadmill. And what am I doing with my right hand while I'm working? More often than not, I'm using the mouse, so my hand is resting there, not moving. So after a few days of doing that sort of work, wearing my Fitbit and Android Wear device, and having those devices show 10,000 steps, and the Vivofit only showing about 4,000 to 6,000 steps, I moved it over to my left arm, and it's significantly higher now. More often than not, the step count still shows up about 1,000 lower than those other devices, and I actually haven't counted the steps to, 10,000 steps per day to know 100% if it's one or the other is accurate or not. But they're close. I also kind of like the fact that on this display it has a red time to move bar at the top of the display when you've been sitting around for too long. Unfortunately, unless you're actively looking at the device all the time, you're not going to see that red bar. And if I'm looking at the device, I'm going to be looking at my step count more often than not, so I'm not going to look for that red band. The Vivofit also comes with a sleep mode, as I mentioned before, but I'm not terribly interested in keeping track of my sleep, so I ended up not using it all that much. In order to use it though, you do have to hold down the one button on the device for 5 seconds or so. It passes the sync mode and goes straight into sleep at that point. And this is the sort of graph that you'll see after a night of sleep, just showing the amount of movement you had at different times during the night, the level of sleep you were in, things like that. Additionally, the band is waterproof up to, I think, 5 atmospheres, about 50 meters. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. I probably read that one wrong. I wore it in the shower though, and it didn't have any problems with that. I think you can go swimming with it with no problems. I don't know if I'd wear it to go in the ocean, but I don't really wear any jewelry or anything when I'm in the ocean. Moving on, the transflected display on this thing is very, very nice. I'm a huge fan of being able to look over at my wrist and immediately see my step count without having to push a button and have something light up. I can also look at the time and the distance I've traveled, the steps I have to go to my goal and everything like that without having to hit any buttons unless I want to go between them, of course. Unfortunately though, this model doesn't have a backlight, so if you want to be able to see your step count and you're in the dark, you're a bit out of luck unless you got a flashlight or a phone or something. However, I'm sure that not having a backlight helps the battery life out, so that's a plus. And like I said, it's supposed to be a year of battery life. I've had it for a month and a half now or so I don't really know the long term. And once you hit that time, you take a few screws off the inside of the device and you can replace those with other batteries. Not really a big deal from what I've heard. And actually, you can pop the entire thing out and replace the band. They sell bands, a bunch of bands for like $25 for a set of 5 or 6, something like that. I'll put links down below if you'd like to look at that. Now, the one sort of annoying thing about the Vivofit, in my opinion, is that it doesn't automatically sync. I'm so used to using the Fitbit and having it auto sync in the background or just auto sync anytime I open the app that it feels odd to have to open the Garmin Connect app, hold the button down on it, and then wait for a minute or so for it to actually sync everything. And if you don't do it for several days, this can take several minutes to sync. Anyway, to wrap things up, this is definitely not a bad device, but I wouldn't buy it. And I don't recommend that you buy it either. Surprising, I know. This device retails for about 129 bucks, though you can actually get it on Amazon for about $90, maybe a little less. However, Garmin has gone ahead and released the Vivofit 2 that should be available in the next few days at that same $129 price point. You know what's cool about the Vivofit 2? It addresses all of the issues that I've had with the Vivofit so far. It has a backlight. It can give you an audible alert anytime that red time to move bar fills up, and it automatically syncs up with your mobile device without you having to do anything. So if you're in the market for a wearable and you're not looking into the Fitbit category, because I know a lot of people have had problems with the wrist-worn Fitbits due to their irritation and stuff like that. This one hasn't irritated me. Of course, I haven't been irritated by anything so far. But anyway, this one is probably worth your consideration if you are in the market for it. But anyway, that's going to be about all from me for today. Remember, if you like this video, please do leave me a like down below the video. Subscribe to receive more videos when they do become available. And I will see you next time.